Hey guys, Mike back with you again for CSI. We're going to continue on with our magic tutorials. As always, I am going to be using Magic Arena. Everything I'm teaching you guys or showing you in Arena, you can do in real life with the real cards. So here we go. And I'm going to show you in a bot match because it's simpler to show you in a bot match than a a standard match or a ranked match, because some of these people have like really tricked out cards and I'm just trying to teach you how to play. Well, today I want to show you my favorite kind of play, and it's called mill. Mill means to make the other person or yourself discard a card. This deck I personally built myself, and it is my competition deck. It works off of two things: creature cards that really are just defenders or have high, life totals that mill players' cards. The other part of this deck is draw cards, which plays off of Teferi's tutelage. When Teferi's tutelage enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. With that being said, Teferi, our Planeswalker, his +1 ability is to draw a card and then discard. Which means that this whole deck is about drawing as many cards as we can to force our opponent to have to discard his whole deck. When your opponent discards a deck fully, he loses the game, like I will show you in this video. Just like every other turn, play your lands first. Lay a creature if you can afford it with your mana. As always, the converted mana cost is in the upper right corner. It's our turn again, so we will play another one. And now you will see what it looks like to mill somebody, because I'm fixing to put the Wall of Lost Thoughts down. He's a defender, which means you don't have any health, but when he enters the battlefield, target player mills 4 cards. So he goes down. Target opponent has to, as you see, he discards. And as I highlight this, we can see he has 48 cards in his hand, 4 in the graveyard. Since he has nothing on the battlefield, I'm going to attack to drain his life. The main goal of this deck is to not drain his life, but to mill his deck out. As we can see here, the main card we need is Teferi's Tutelage, which is a converted mana cost of 3. 1 blue, 2 of any other color. However, I don't have enough to play that, so we're just going to wait. We're going to wait on that, and we're just going to start throwing creatures up. We're going to throw a Towering Wave Mystic. When it does damage, that player mills that many cards. So whenever this creature attacks our opponent, and it has 2 toughness, he has to mill 2 cards. So we'll just continue to attack with the one we have, and hopefully we'll get another island to drop for us. He's running a green deck, so I'm pretty sure he's got some big creatures that can pop up. He got 3 life back, but we're not interested in his life. I might have to scry to try to draw a card here. So we're going to scry 1. Okay, we see that it's an island. That's exactly what we need. Okay, we're going to throw out our 3rd island. Now the next turn we definitely know that we're going to get our tutelage out because we have the 3 mana. Let's go ahead and attack. Let's make him mill 2 cards. And as he mills, you see his graveyard has 6, and he's back down to 43. So finally got his first creature out, and it's a Generous Stray, which is a 1/2 card. It makes him draw a card, which is a very bad idea. Okay, so Teferi's Tutelage will come out. It says when it enters the battlefield, draw a card and discard. It will be laid over here to the side, and the effect triggers. I really don't want to throw any of these away because draw 2 and my Teferi is a lot more potent than an island, so I'd rather get rid of the island. And then he mills 2. As he's got a generous stray with 2 life, I'm not going to attack. We don't need to attack. This deck is built on defense only. I will sacrifice a creature if I have to, but I'd rather just keep them up front and block with my 0/4s if I can. He may buff them. There you go. I'm going to lose this Wall of Thoughts, but that's fine because I still have 2 blockers. Okay. Now I got a special blocker called a Merfolk Secret Keeper. Has 2 abilities. It says if I pay 1, target player mills 4. And when I do this, it lets me choose. Always go with a mill. That player will mill 4. And then it's down here off to the side. Well, it's kind of in exile right now. And I could pay 1 mana again to throw her back out to the field to be a 0/4 blocker for me. And like I said, we're not going for damage. I'm not interested in taking the life off of her. This win con is something completely different. And it's attacking with a 1/2. I'll block it. We sacrifice each other. I draw a card. Triggers the effect of tutelage. And as you can see, we've already gotten our opponent's hand size or deck size down to 30 cards with 20 in the graveyard. Now Teferi's coming out, which is going to give us an extra draw each turn. We always need to try to draw as many cards as possible, so what we're going to do is go ahead and use his ability to give us a +1. And it's another island. I will sacrifice a Larcenist for the island because we need a little bit more extra mana coming up. Okay, lay our mana down, no attacks. Just keep them as blockers. This one has trample, but we're not too worried about that. We're gonna, and it also, a cool thing about Teferi is his static ability. You may activate the loyalty abilities of Teferi on any player's turn, which means I will get to draw a card on his turn as well, which will also trigger, you got it, the Teferi's tutelage. This is a very powerful strategy to win. If you want to win a lot of games, look at doing a blue colored mill deck. Alright, and we're gonna do away with our island. And somebody's here because my dog's barking. Okay, they're trying to attack Teferi. Just block and sack them. Can I take yours? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm back. All right, here we go. Okay, now then we're gonna activate our ability. Okay, Teferi's tutelage. We got a second one. Alright, and as I lay down a second Teferi's tutelage, it got alt. Okay, he must have countered it. So I was not, or I sacrificed it, one of the two. Oops, my bad. Alright, let's see, let's draw 3, which will trigger Teferi's tutelage 3 times. And let's put her on top. Okay, because we need some form of blocker. Even though it's this late in the game, and he only has 14 cards left in his hand, well, 12 now. I really want to get this cheese down just a little bit more because he's fixing to start welling on me. Okay, let's try to use... I want to phase out the shaman and take the 3 damage. That way I don't take the 5. Let's draw 2 to trigger our tutelage twice. And hey, we got our second surprise Planeswalker, Jace. If you would draw a card from your library and it has no cards, you win the game, which is a self-mill. If you want to mill yourself and have no cards, you win instantly. But I got him on here for an extra mill, which is the mill 2. Draw a card. Let's go ahead and throw him out, along with Teferi. Let's go ahead and draw a card to trigger our tutelage. And let's take away an island. I think we can take a hit if we need to. Let's go with Jace's target mills 2. As you can see, our enemy should have no cards. He has 18 life and I have 17. But without any cards in his hand, it's an instant win. And that is how mill works. The idea is to get them completely empty of cards. And this deck works tremendously in Arena, and I also have a version of this deck in real life that I try to use in a 60 card format, and it has had very well chances of winning versus other people. You might not win tournaments with it because these people who play Magic are very, very well thought out of their decks, and this deck won't beat a Tron deck. It won't beat a very good lifelink deck that has synergy. I want to show you this deck because it works very well in the lower ranks of Arena and a good way to start out. If you need the deck, here it is, 60 cards. As you can see, I have 24 islands, 1 explained vision for draw 3. I have 2 planeswalkers, which is Teferi, Master of Time, Jace, the Welder of Mysteries. I use a Rain of Revelation, draw 3. I draw 2 card, which is the Winged Words. I have 4 Teferi's tutelages. That's right. If you can get all 4 on the battlefield, that's making them draw 8 cards for each card you draw. Now think about that. 8 cards in a 60 card setup, you're doing 1/10 of their draw. Or I would say each time if they draw 8 and they have 60, that's a good ratio. I'm not a math genius, but I'm pretty sure that if this game was to go on for 8 turns and you had all tutelages out, within those last 8 turns, you're going to mill their whole deck out. We have an attack for a draw for the Larcenist. I have 2 of those. Cloudkin Seer. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. His only purpose is to handle flying creatures and enter the battlefield to draw the card. A Befuddle. That's to, if somebody's got a big creature and it's attacking and you need to buy some time to mill more cards out, you can -4, -0 on them, but you also get to draw a card. All these things work off of the tutelage. A Keen Glide Master, which if you pay, he has a pay ability, which will make him flying if we need an extra flying creature. I have 1 of those. I have 1 Merfolk Wizard, which is the Tower and Wave Mystic. The one that deals damage, that player has to mill that much damage, or that many cards it was dealt damage to. I have 4 Walls of Thoughts, or Lost Thoughts. It's a defender, can attack, but when it enters the battlefield it mills 4. So you have 4 of these for 16 card mill. I have 4 Merfolk Secret Keeper. It is the pay 1, mill 4, exiles, pay 1, enters the battlefield at 0/4. So it's essentially having 4 blockers. It's the same as this one, but in a different card, so I was able to get 4 more. So it's actually having 8 blockers for another mill 4 cards. So it's another 16. So with these two, that's 32 cards. Well, 32 cards in draw off a tutelage draw mills 2. So 2, 4, 6, 16, 18, 18, 36. That's over half of their deck worth of in 2 different cards. 8 cards. We have Op. I have 4 of those. Op pretty much lets you look at the top card of your deck, and then you can move it to the bottom, and then you can draw a card. And then last, I have a Spectral Sailor, which is basically just a flying creature. He's cheap. He's 1 mana cost, but he has a pay ability. For 4 mana, I can draw a card, which if it's late game, and you have 2 or 3 tutelages out, and you have one of these in your hand, and he has 4 cards left, and you have no life, but you have 5 mana, you can play him, and then use his pay ability to draw a card which will trigger your tutelage, which would mill him enough for you to win the game. So this is my mill deck. You can go ahead and critique it if you want, that's fine, but I have a very good win record with this deck. A lot of people usually see this deck and know that I'm milling them and will pretty much forfeit within 6 rounds at the beginning of the game. If I don't forfeit, I usually lose 1 out of 10 games in ranked, because the weakness of this deck is strong synergy within white, and I will show you what I mean. Ajani's Pridemate. Whenever you gain a life, you put a 1/1 counter on Ajani's Pridemate. So if you had this card out, and you had an Angel of Vitality out, it says if you would gain 1 life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. On an Ordinator, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. As you can see how these trigger, it will buff your Ajani's Pridemate so big that I cannot mill a full 60 cards before this creature has enough power to kill me quickly. This is the weakness to mill white lifelink, with good synergy as you've seen with the Ordinator, the Pridemate, and the Angel of Vitality. As you can see, I have a lot of decks, and I'm trying to go over them with you 1 or 2 at a time as I make these. They're mostly tutorials on how you should play that color. But if you watch every video I've made, you will notice I'm teaching you how to play each phase of your turn. Your land, your upkeep, your cleanup, and your end phase. One of the most favorite kind of decks or colors in this game is red. For some reason, people like red. I'm not a fan of red. But let me show you a few things. Red can deal instant damage with shock. It's cheap. This is a very aggro based deck, so if you want to get like decks that are in your face and just punch your opponent to death, red is the way to go. You got 4 damage to the target creature, then 2 damage to its controller. If you look, there's 3 of them. That's 6 damage to the player. 12 damage that it can do to a creature, or overall creatures, over 3 different ones if you want. And the mana cost for it's only 4. That's a lot of damage. Spitfire. Whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, Spitfire gets +3 to the end of turn, which makes this a 4/3. That's a pretty powerful flyer, especially if your opponent doesn't have any flyers to block it. And then I believe Scorch Spitter. Whenever Scorch Spitter attacks, it does 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. So this little guy, he's a 1-drop, but he is an antagonist. Every time you attack with him, you will have to take an extra 1 point of damage. It's just like this card here. It infuriates you. I mean, red is just all about that aggro. Get out there and just beat somebody up. Now I wish Arena had the Commander format, because the Commander format is a popular 100 card format that everybody plays in real life, which I'm going to show you in a couple weeks. Big spoiler alert. I'm going to be unboxing one of the Zendikar Rising Precon Commander decks, the Landfall deck. There's 2 that's coming out late September. One is called Landfall and the other one is called Sneak Attack. One is a black-blue ninja deck. I believe the other one is... Let me check for you. I believe it's red, green, black, if I'm not mistaken. And it works with different landfall abilities, which we haven't gone over landfall abilities. And I don't even think they're in this game yet, so I really can't check for a landfall. Let me just double check here if I can. Ruin Crab. Click the craft button, please. Nope. Okay, so there's no Ruin Crab. Let's go to... Okay. Ruin Crab. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, each player mills 3 cards. So when you're playing Commander, it's a multiplayer format, which means you're playing 3 people, 2. It's not a one-on-one like the normal standard Magic is. You can have 4 opponents. Usually it's 3 opponents, there's 4 people playing. It's you and 3 other people, or you and 2 other people. So however, Landfall gives you an ability, like this one says. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, it's a mill card. And it's very powerful because each opponent has to mill 3 cards. Well, how powerful is mill within Commander, since it's a 100 card deck? And I will tell you, 100 cards is hard to mill. So we would use, I believe it's Phynax as our commander. As you can tell, well, we can't, access denied. If you can read it, it says Phynax, God of Deception. A legendary creature, which means he can be the commander. He's indestructible. And it says, as long as your devotion to blue and black is less than 7, Phynax isn't a creature. However, if you have more than 7 lands out, the creatures you control have a turn ability. Target player puts top X cards of his or her library into his grave or her graveyard, where X is a creature's toughness. Now, as you can see, Phynax by itself has a 4 toughness. So say, since this is a blue-black deck, and you have a Kraken out that is a 7/7. If you was to turn the Kraken and tap it, it would use its 7 and whatever other creature's toughness for that player to mill. So, when you're playing Commander and you're using Phynax as your commander, he is a very powerful mill commander. As this video is all about mill, I figured I would end it with showing you how to build a commander mill deck and which commander I recommend for that color scheme, black and blue. There's a lot of good mill cards within black, and there's a lot of strong mill cards in blue because that's the original color of every mill card I've ever seen. Another card I would like to show you, and I do believe it is in Magic, and it is in black. So let's go to black. Let's just edit this deck so I don't have to sit here. Alright, we're going to make sure we're on black. Let's craft. See if you can find it, Mike. I do believe it's in Magic set Core 2021. So it's a fairly rare, recent card. It's not rare, I don't think. I know it's in a Liliana's deck, I believe. And let's see if I can find you. Might not be able to find it. But the way the card works is the card will mill half of your deck. And it's crazy. I'm trying to think of the card's name. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. And you probably hear my phone as I'm searching for this. Okay, the card is actually blue. I'm sorry, I'm stupid. It's called Traumatize. It's blue and I probably gotta craft it. It's not in the game. Okay, so it's Magic 2014, which is too old for standard, which means you can use this card in the Commander format, because Commander format lets you use any format, which is neat. But here's the card. And it is blue, which means you can use it within that Commander set, or, you know, like I said, this card's not legal for normal or standard because the age of the card. Standard lets you only use the last sets in the last 2 years of Magic, so they keep them fresh. But in Commander, you can use any card that's not on the ban list. And this one says target player puts the top half of his or her library rounded down into his or her graveyard. So when you're playing a Commander deck and you have 100 cards, and say by the 6th round, you figure somebody's going to have roughly around a ballpark of 90 cards to 80 cards left in her graveyard. So if this is half, they're going to lose around 40 cards right off the bat with this card for a 5 mana drop. And as you can see, the eBay price here, it's not an expensive card. For Commander, if you have 100 cards, you can imagine how expensive Commander decks will get, because you can have a Commander deck that is literally thousands of dollars that are competitive. And then I have seen some other channels on YouTube that their main focus is showing you how to make Commander decks that are budget based. And they have some very, very good decks. I plan on showing you Commander in a couple weeks, but for now, I'm just showing you the 60 card version. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with that. But the theme for today was mill, and it's a fun format. It's really, I call it a dick move, because the way you win is not strategic. It doesn't make you a better fighter or a more strategic player. It just means you're just taking all their cards away. And you really don't have to have a whole lot of skill to play this deck, like you would, say, I don't know, say for an example, let me clear these back out. Out for Blood. This deck here takes a little bit more strategic planning than just a straight up mill deck, because it's just simple. And there's other forms of blue decks. They don't all have to be blue. But this one is a little different, as it focuses on flying creatures. And flying creatures is really strong, especially when you and control and flying. So basically what you want to do is outmaneuver your opponents and be able to attack them without them being able to block you. Most people don't realize that when they make their decks, the first time they make a custom deck, they usually screw up and forget to put creatures in with reach or flying creatures, because they all just they put these things. They put defenders, they put land creatures. These creatures can't block a flying creature, no matter how much you want them to, unless you enchant them or they have the flying wording on it. Flying creatures will always be able to bypass land creatures and do straight damage. Flying creatures is a great way to get around a mill deck that has no flying blockers. That's why I focus a little bit of my blockers on flying. So I hope you enjoyed. I believe this is my fourth video now, third or fourth video with mill. On the next video will be the one before I unbox a tabletop unboxing. I'm going to be getting out of Arena for that unboxing of the Zendikar Commander box. I'm going to show you one more video before that unboxing, and I believe we're going to go with how to mix and match colors and to get solid combinations, so you can make color combination decks. As you see here, what I have is colored decks of one color, except for Liliana's Legion, which is a dual colored. This is one of the decks that require a lot of strategic planning on how you play it. I believe I've went over this deck before in a previous video, but we're going to go over other color options and see how we can mix big creatures with Death Touch, or lifelink with big creatures, or just pure muscle aggro power and big creatures. Maybe we want to do a mill flying with big creatures. There's just so many possibilities, and I'm going to go over a few color variations that I like that may help you win your next game. I appreciate you watching. As always, follow CSI Gaming on here and Facebook. Please follow us on Facebook. We love you guys to follow us on Facebook, and we'll see you there. Thank you.